people becoming more narcissistic?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what impact is that having?
I don't even know where to start. So I think it's affecting our relationships, it's affecting our happiness, it's affecting our professional ability.
I was thinking, is social media making us more narcissistic?
Absolutely.
And is that then driving us to be more lonely? And if so, how do we first define the word narcissism in this context?
Now, what we also know is that from studies on narcissism, that narcissism has its roots in insecurity. So if you think about someone who's like egotistical and confident, like Stephen, I'm sure you know both, what's the difference between the two?
Confidence feels more secure and egotisticalness feels more insecure.
Absolutely. Where does a confident person's esteem come from?
Inside.
Where does a egotistical's esteem come
Outside.
from? Beautiful. So this is what social media is doing. Social media and technology is externalizing our perception. So if you really look at the history of humanity, our perception has been internally focused at least 50% of the time. Literally what we are paying attention to is our own thoughts, our own feelings, the voices, the desires, the drives that come within us. What technology has done is whole-scale externalize our perception. And this is even where, I used to be like an efficiency junkie. And so when I was in med school, I was going to be like you, Stephen, and I was going to be super efficient. I was going to be super successful. So I was listening to a podcast in the morning about self-help. I was going to listen to lectures on my way to the subway. I was going to read on the subway. I was going to listen to a lecture on my way to the classroom, pay attention in the classroom, then do some questions, like some test questions, whatever. So my mind was constantly outside of me. Social media makes this even worse because now we're doom scrolling, we're looking at what other people are doing. So we are starting to exist outside of ourselves. Once we exist outside of ourselves, all of our esteem comes from the outside world because that's where we're spending our time. So what's happening is as we become more externalized, we're becoming insecure because where does confidence really come from? It doesn't come from inside. This is a big mistake a lot of people don't realize, which is if you do really well and you don't believe in yourself, you don't become secure. A lot of people think that becoming secure is about being successful. That's not the case. If you're really successful, you don't end up with security. You end up with imposter syndrome. So I went to Tufts for medical school and I did my residency training at Harvard. And what I saw is that the more successful you become, that increases the rate of imposter syndrome. There's way more imposter syndrome at Harvard than there is at the University of Texas. There's way more imposter syndrome at a place like Goldman Sachs than there is at Bank of America. So lots of success actually creates this idea that I don't really know if I can do this. Oh, everyone else is so much better than me. So we see actually lots of success leads to imposter syndrome. Confidence doesn't come from success, it comes from surviving failure. It's also far more internal. So it's not something that anyone else gives you. It's like when you believe in yourself, then you're confident. And then the beautiful thing is that once you believe in yourself, then other people can think whatever they want to about you. The way that you receive criticism, if you criticize an egotistical person, they will argue with you and convince you that you're wrong and call you stupid. Whereas if you're confident, someone says, hey, you're an idiot, I can say, okay, help me understand why. I could be an idiot. Help me understand. So this is where what social media is doing is externalizing our perceptions, building our ego. We're so focused on the judgment of other people, focused on our external appearance. We lose our connection to ourselves. And then once we lose our connection to ourselves, we lose the capacity to gain confidence.
And how does this then result in loneliness on a societal level?
It's so many different things. So the first reason it makes us lonely, I've also seen the highest level of being around people and being lonely. So I see so many people who have jobs, even have girlfriends, boyfriends, have friends, and they feel so incredibly lonely. So what happens when we are externally focused, right? So if I'm lonely, I need to put myself out there. So what I'm going to do is transform myself. And this is where it's so interesting because a lot of the guidance we give people helps in some way, but actually worsens the problem. So if I'm lonely, I'm going to focus on my social skills. I'm going to get a good haircut. I'm going to learn how to dress. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to become professionally successful. And now I've become something that I can be proud of. And now that I've become something that I can be proud of, I'm going to go interact with other people and look at they're going to love me because now I'm sexy and I'm successful and I know how to talk to people and I'm going to talk to them in this way and I'm going to do eye contact and I'm going to do all of the things
Well, you take the accent.
to connect with you, to make you like me, right? See, now you're laughing, so now I feel okay because now I know, oh, Steven's laughing. He likes me. I'm likable. So what we actually do is we create a false version of ourselves for people to love. And that's what really screws us because they don't fall in love with us. They don't like us. They don't like the broken, pathetic kid that I used to be. They like this glossy, polished version. And that creates a fundamental loneliness, even though you can be dating. It's so interesting because I'll work with influencers. Like we have a creator coaching program. And like, it's so hard for influencers to date because are you falling in love with the influencer? Are you falling in love with Diary of a CEO host? Or are you falling in love with Steven? Right? Is it Dr. K or is it Alok? So this is what's really paradoxical is that we think that forming all of these connections will help our loneliness, where oftentimes it creates the opposite effect. Where now what they love is a version of me, not the real me. And now the problem is they love this polished version. What happens if I show them the ugly version? They won't accept me. I can never show it to them.